For more, we're joined from Chicago now from Anil Doradla. He's an analyst for William Blair. Anil currently has a market perform recommendation on RIM. Dominic here is with me as well, and he's got a little toy with him, which he'll show you in a second. But in the meantime, Anil, is that going to be enough to appease the network operators if they try to offer some compensation to them?
No, in my opinion, not really, because if you look at the end of the day, BlackBerry strategy is tailored around the enterprise user and the average consumer. And the purchasing patterns of the consumer really do not depend upon the network operator. The subsidy does play to some extent, but people like you and I, as a consumer, don't buy BlackBerries because we're getting some level of subsidy. There is a market that caters to that, but I'm not sure about that. Now, coming to the enterprise, there's a whole different reason why enterprise users go to BlackBerry or do not go to BlackBerry, but not sure whether that's going to be a game changer in BlackBerry's strategy.
Well, Anil, one of the things that BlackBerry is competing with is this new iPhone, this iPhone 4S, and I know I went out to the malls all over the tri-state area and saw lines all over the place to get this particular device. Research in Motion maybe used to be like that, not so much anymore now. Do they have to get to that status in order to be competitive anymore, or can they kind of get by with what they're doing right now? You have a market perform rating on the stock.
Right. So there are a couple of things to that question. There are certain key areas where they will continue to do well. For example, enterprise, some of the government-oriented things, places where security is more critical. The bigger issue is the consumer space. And I think from my point of view, and the reason why I had a market perform, is the make or break for the company is whether they can succeed with QNX, which is their next generation operating system. We might see some sneak previews over the next day or two. Right. That is the key area for them to. No, that is basically what is going to define whether this company can make it or not in the consumer space.
Well, because I was going to follow up on that, because they've got their developers conference today. I mean, aside from QNX, I mean, what do they need to focus on to get, to retain their customers and prevent them from defecting?
I think that's the key question. This is a patient that's bleeding. It has to stop the bleeding. And what that means is that the QNX operating system has to come out soon. But we can't look at the QNX operating system in isolation. We have to look at the application development platform. So somehow, can they leverage the third-party application ecosystem, whether it's the Android or something else, towards the QNX is what is going to define this company. And there's several challenges. It's not going to be easy for this company, and there's no quick solution.
Well, Anil, if you look at no quick solution here, we're talking about a stock that really has gotten to a level where maybe some investors are tempted to buy it. There's got to be a case to be made one way or the other. You have a neutral, in essence, rating on the stock here. What are the risks to the downside for BlackBerry or Research in Motion investors if they can't execute? What can happen to the downside for this stock here?
Well, remember, it's the company is dealing with the consumer segment. If you look at every quarter, about 70% plus net adds tend to be consumers. A consumer market tends to be very finicky. So just as you rightly pointed out, over the weekend there were long lines for the iPhone 4S. Right. They already talked about 4+ million units. I mean, the consumer is very finicky, so we could potentially see some of their stronger areas in emerging markets that are on the curve, 8520 series, right, suddenly start losing traction from Android or something else. So I think, when it comes to downside, especially on the consumer side, if they misexecute, we've seen Nokias, we've seen Palms, right, we've seen several stories in the past.
Okay, Anil, thank you.